All right, so hello everyone. We'll get started with the session now. I hope everybody has joined in, although I see the number of folks still joining. Uh, okay, I can wait a couple of more minutes as well. Okay, guys, if I'm not audible to someone, I think you should check your speakers, probably because I think everything is working perfectly fine from my side. I'm not sharing my screen, so don't worry if you're not able to see the screen. I have just started the session, so don't worry about anything. I think people are still joining. All right, we'll get started with the session in a minute. Uh, okay, in this session, I want everybody to possibly be joining from your laptop, not from your phone. Because what I realized is because there are a lot of content going to be on the screen today. If you're joining from phone, it will be very difficult for you to see those elements on the screen. Okay, the bigger the screen size is, the better it will be for you to understand the whole session. So in case someone is joining from phone and try to switch to a laptop or at least connect your phone to a screen via whatever ways you do it, yeah, on TV or something like that, right? So try to do that because this session will be slightly technically heavy. As I say, a lot of things will be there on the screen, a lot of things you'll have to understand and correlate. If I zoom into a particular part, I won't be able to correlate into multiple things, right? So try to just make sure that you are joining in from a bigger screen size. Okay. All right. Okay, folks are still joining. Okay, I'll just give one more minute, guys, and I'll start with the recap. Don't worry about that. I'll start with the recap, and yeah, okay. All right, so we'll quickly start with a recap. The very first thing that we discussed yesterday, there are five things majorly that we discussed yesterday. The first part, what we discussed yesterday, was to understand what are different aspects of AI. What is traditional AI? What is generative AI? And what is agentic AI? These three types of AI is something what we discussed in the initial part. We should be extremely clear what's the difference between the traditional AI, what generative AI changed across the world, and what agentic AI is making a difference in terms of automations and things like that. Okay, that's the first thing that we discussed. If anybody has any confusion on that part, please let me know in the chat. I'll be more than happy to repeat that. Okay, if you have not attended the previous session, this session is going to be extremely tough for you because you will not be able to correlate things. So I highly recommend you can still be part of this session, but make sure you watch the recording of the previous session. Okay, that's the first part we discussed. Traditional AI, Gen AI, agentic AI. That's the first one. Second one, we understood a lot about automations. We tried to understand how things are automated. Like first level of automation, what we saw when generative AI came in was automation of the search engine, right? No longer we are using Google or Bing and all that. ChatGPT is giving answers of everything. Second level of automations that we saw was code generation, image generation, video generation. There are a lot of Instagram videos right now are AI generated, and you won't even realize that those are AI generated. And folks are making money just by sharing those as reels and monetizing their platform, right? So a lot of images, videos, code are all AI generated. That's the second level of automation that we achieved. The third level of automation that we achieved was as a AI agent today, an AI agent can talk to multiple AI agents. So it's like a automation of automations. I can have a AI agent that can create an email, send it to my marketing team, respond to that email, post something on social media, things like that, without my interference. So that's the third level of automation. And the fourth level of automation is what we discussed yesterday, which was how to have your own virtual AI assistant who is exactly like a human, right? Who can speak like a human, who can talk like a human, who can understand the queries of your customer or anybody who's trying to call you. Okay, I'm fast. All right, I'm sorry. Fourth level of automation is creating your own AI assistant who can talk like a human, who can understand the concerns of your customer, who can respond in a way where the other person is able to understand you well, right? So that is the fourth level of automation, what we discussed yesterday. It was via a tool called VAPI, VAPI, which we discussed, right? And we discussed about how VAPI can be used by you or by any human to create a replica of their own, probably of their own, or probably creating a receptionist, a support engineer, or a customer support or a call center kind of a thing, all of those aspects. right? So they have the full ability to make sure that AI agents whom we create as a voice assistant using VAPI, they have the clear picture of your complete business or whatever you want to convey to anyone who is calling you. So that's the fourth level of automation where AI agent is at par with humans. Yesterday, what we saw is even if we say something very different, for example, you remember the assistant name? Pooja was the assistant name. Yesterday we created Pooja, right? And there was second demo which we were talking about. And then I mentioned to Pooja that I just called you to showcase a demo to my students in the call, right? Now, Pooja was smart enough to say that, okay, I was so glad to be a part of your demo. Now, these aspects, these emotions, these impromptu answers, it's able to give you just like human. So that is what it's differentiating itself from rest of the AI agent. Now we are at a stage where the AI bot, the AI agent using the capabilities of agentic AI, what we create has the capability to speak like human, talk like human, have the empathy and emotions like human, right? If you say something that you're suffering from something like that, and then dental care clinic is what we created yesterday. And when I said that I have a tooth problem and wisdom tooth extraction is something I'm looking for, it had an empathetic statement. It said, I understand your concern and let me check you what's the best I can do. And here are the doctor's list and here are the availability, all of those aspects, right? So this is the fourth part of what we discussed. The fifth part and the last two parts, I think, I'm not sure, fourth or fifth, whatever, what we discussed was how to tackle two main blockers in this scenario. What we saw is the first scenario was dynamic concerns. Like once we have kept a static data, how to make sure that the static data is used, but along with that, the things which are dynamic. For example, the slots might not be available for all the callers completely for 8 p.m. to 12 noon, for example. Even if we have put the slot information in the static system prompt that from 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. the slots are available, it might not be possible that every time the slots are available. So how my AI assistant should be smart enough to understand that which slots are booked, which slots are not booked. What if on the call, someone says that send me the complete details on my email address? How AI agent can be smart enough to send an email address, to send an email on a particular email address, right? Now, these things can only happen when it is actually having those capabilities. And that's what we're going to discuss today. Because as a human, I can do it. As a human, if you call me today and then I say, hi, I'm the receptionist of Smile Dental Care. How can I help you? And you ask me to send all the details about your dental clinic in your email address. As a human, I can say, yes, sure, I'm doing it. I'll ask your email address, answer it, right? But as an AI agent, how can we make AI agent to do that? Not just sending email, probably sending the details over WhatsApp or asking feedback, sending them a Google form, something like that, right? All of those aspects is something we are going to discuss today, how to do that. That's the first one. Second part, and the major part, what is something we're going to discuss today is we discussed about an MNC. For example, you are not a part of a small dental clinic. You're a part of a MNC where you have a huge knowledge base articles. There are 500 articles. And as an AI agent, you have to be very clear about what is something you gonna talk about out of those 500 articles. There are 50 doctors, 50 surgeons. Operations task is very different and very streamlined. So you have to check all those before answering to the customer. How we can make an AI agent much more capable to do that, right? That is what we're going to discuss today as well. And we are also trying to see how it can surpass a human. So first, initially, we were trying to create a AI agent who can be at par of a human, right? As what human says, similar to that, my AI agent should be able to talk. But today we'll discuss how AI agent can surpass any AI receptionist who is a human, right? So that is what the two main aspect we are going to learn today, the dynamic content part and extreme big knowledge base, how to configure extreme big knowledge bases as well. Okay, these are the two things we're going to discuss today. The third thing we're going to discuss today is something called 11 Labs. 11 Labs is one of the AI tool again, which is slightly different than VAPI, but it is again into the angle and into the lines of voice, speech, and conversations. Okay. the use cases could be extreme. Suppose you're creating a video, AI generated video, and you're trying to have a conversation kind of a script created. So 11 Labs can help you with that. Or probably you are trying to have a host who is an AI agent. Imagine I start the session right away by myself, right? But what if an AI agent comes with an AI avatar, right? Now there is a perfect AI avatar out there. You won't even realize that it's an actually human or a bot. Like the avatar will look so real. And then the AI acts like a host that welcome everyone to the session. Today is a lovely day. Welcome. It's a Sunday morning. And then it invites me by giving my introduction. How cool will that be? Right? So 11 Labs can help you do that. People are asking in my chat, are you a human or a bot? I am a human. Can I cut it and then show the blood? Sorry for the bad joke. Okay. So yeah, so that is what amazing it is to understand how AI agents can help and how 11 Labs can help you to create the communication part and can help you with speeches, conversations, voice modulations, and all that stuff. Okay. All right. So whatever tools we are going to discuss, it is not going to be the paid. It will be freemium tools. What are freemium tools? Freemium tools are the ones which are free till a certain limit, so that you have the understanding and you can learn the tool. You can have the full capability of using all the features, and then till the time you have the complete understanding of the tool, you will be able to, or if you want to, you can pay and use it for your business or for your use cases as well. All right. Okay. So yes, this is a live session, Deepak. Folks are asking, is it live? Of course, it's a live session. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I will showcase you the first part, which is how to create things completely dynamic, right? When I say dynamic, a bot should not respond like a bot. Although what we saw yesterday, that the bot is not exactly responding like a bot, it's responding like a conversation. It's talking to you, it's understanding you, it has empathy, it has emotions, it is greeting you well, all of those things, right? But one thing that you have to make sure, that the dynamicity should also be there. What do I mean by dynamicity? Something which is not static. Like for example, if on the call, sending email, trying to understand booking slots, trying to understand is there any holiday this week, all things which are changing, how AI bot should be smart enough to understand that. That is something we are going to learn today. And the biggest thing which is changing the world is MCP server. Okay. MCP server is one of the aspects that we are going to learn before we talk about anything, right? And one thing I want to know from everyone is, how many of you have some or any understanding of what MCP is? Anyone understanding of what MCP is? No, no. Okay, okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm just asking if anybody has the understanding. It's okay if you don't have an understanding. Perfectly fine. So now I can explain from bare scratch. Okay. No, the full form is not multi-cloud platform. That's not the full form. The full form is Model Context Protocol. Okay. All right. So first, I'll explain what exactly MCP is and how it has made a huge difference in the world of AI. Now, what one thing you need to understand is, yesterday we spoke about APIs. Yesterday we did discuss about an API. What is an API is something we discussed. It acts like a postman between speaking to two different softwares. Now, APIs are something which is slightly onto development side. Development side as in someone who is a developer, someone who is a software engineer, someone who is into tech. It makes more sense for them to use API, because API comes with some development aspects. You have to understand how to authenticate a developer, authenticate an API. You have to understand how to call an API and all that, right? So all those aspects is slightly inclined towards tech. But something which is non-tech, and all the AI agent tools, everything that AI is doing today is trying to create an AI for everyone. That's why in this session as well, I don't think there are even 10% developers. 90% of you are not from development background or not software engineers, because you don't need to be software engineers anyways, because now AI agents are able to help each one of you to create something by your own without having a technical aspect. Hence, MCP is the biggest alternative of an API. Not just an alternative, it is something much more beyond, something much more capable than what API can do. And that is what I'll be discussing today. Let me quickly share my screen and we'll get started. All right, let me put it up. Because there's so many screens, I get confusing. Okay, folks are asking my introduction. You didn't attend the class yesterday. You should have saw the recording before attending today's class. It will be difficult for you. Okay, perfect. Now, yesterday we discussed the API, right? How does API work, calling a system and all that stuff, right? Today, we'll just see what is the capability of an MCP or an MCP server. As I mentioned, the full form is Model Context Protocol. Okay. Right? This is what Model Context Protocol or MCP server is all about. The full form is. Now, one thing we want to understand is, let's compare it with the API. Yesterday, what we discussed? Yesterday, we discussed was, let's suppose I am asking the assistant Pooja, what we created yesterday on Vapi, that tell me or give me the available slots for this Wednesday. Or are you open on 1st of January? Or send me an email. Now, whenever we ask these aspects, right, for an API, whenever we ask these aspects, all these questions, for example, user queries. User queries, one will be send email. For example, these are just the examples, okay? Are you open on 1st of January? Okay. Or third option is, what did I say? Tell me available slots. Available slots for Wednesday, coming Wednesday, let's suppose. Okay. Now all these are dynamic data. What do I mean by dynamic is this something I cannot instruct the bot once and it will do it by yourself. It's not possible. Sending email will require the email address from the customer. So it becomes dynamic. I cannot just send email to random person. I have to ask the person what's your email address. Use that email address, which is a dynamic data because it could be anything, right? It's dynamic. Use that email address and send email to only that email address. So that becomes dynamic. Second is, are you open on 1st of January? Now, maybe I am open, maybe I'm not working. So it's again dynamic. It might happen that a week before I tell to my agent that this 1st of January, I'm going with my family over a picnic, so I'm not working, right? But last year I was free, so I was working on 1st January. So again, it's open-ended. Third point, tell me available slots for coming Wednesday. It might have happened that available slots are all booked or all free, or some are booked, some are free. Correct? So these are dynamic data. Now, to understand and answer the user queries, the AI assistant will have to use some dynamic source. What is a dynamic source? Dynamic source is a source which keeps getting updated on a timely basis, right? Either a dynamic source or something that can automate a job, that can do the job depending upon a dynamic content. Okay. Now, the very first thing is we'll see the API approach. If I have to use an API, and for using an API approach, you need to be a developer. Let's be very clear. Okay. I'm talking about an API approach because then you'll be able to understand how MCP is able to solve all these in a gist, right? So if I'm using an API approach, each of the task will have a separate API. First API will be for sending emails. This API will be only responsible for API for sending emails. This will be a post call. Again, for non-developers, you can ignore it. Post call basically means this API is supposed to post something. There is something called get call and post call. Some APIs are supposed to get it. get something, some APIs are supposed to post something. Okay, so these are the two types of API. There are more types of APIs, but basically just assume there are two types of API. Okay, so now I have to call a post API call that can send email. Now I'll have to pass what all things. I have to pass email address with this. I have to pass subject. I have to pass the body, anyone in CC, anyone in BCC, things like that, right? Now, these all things I have to configure in my system. Initially, when MCP was not there, I have to configure this as a code properly using, authenticator and all that stuff so that it is not prone to attacks and hackers. I have to use authentication key and everything. Okay. This is the API for sending email. Second API. Are you available open from 1st January? Then I might have to create a database which I'm updating on a daily basis, probably a calendar integration where the doctors can update the availability. So API to get, so it will be a get call. It will be a get call to understand API to get calendar slots or availability, right? Last one will also be same only. This one will also be the same. But all I'm saying is, in case you have to use an API approach, you have to use different APIs for different use case. Each API will come with its own requirement of what attributes has to go in and what things and how you have to how you have to send things again. Okay, this is the API approach. This approach is not required to be learned to you all anymore because we are in the agentic AI era. In agentic AI era, every developer, even the developers, are not required to create all of those things by your own. The reason I'm telling you all this is because you should be able to understand that the API approach, how clumsy it was, how complicated it was, and now MCP, how seamless and how easy it has made for every one of us to create and develop. Right? So that is what we are going to discuss today. Now, coming to MCP, what MCP is doing? MCP is creating a whole server of itself. Okay, when I say server, just assume server is as a remote desktop. Okay, a remote desktop which has all the code in it, which you are going to develop these, right? I was going to develop the API for sending emails. I was going to develop an API for getting the calendar slots and availability. I was going to get the API to get available slots and all that stuff. I was going to code all of myself. Probably for sending emails, I would have used Gmail to connect. For getting the API of calendar slots, I would have used the Teams calendar or Google Calendar or whatever calendar I'm using. Or there is something, right? Calendly, anything, right? So there could be n number of different tools I might be using in the hospital, which as a developer or as someone who is designing the bot was supposed to connect to these tools using the API. So my developer skill sets were required over there, or any non-developer wouldn't have been able to do it, right? But now that's the challenge and that's the workaround MCP server has solved for us. Now MCP server already has all the connections established. So there there are thousands of tools or platforms or third-party applications already mentioned. When I say applications, you have Gmail, you have calendar, you have, you name it, scheduling meetings on Teams, you have the ability to send email, receive email, right? All of those two. I'll show you all the list as well. There are thousands of apps already established. Now, when I say that, I don't need a developer to create API for me. What I need to do is I can just scroll and select that Gmail. Once assistant says that, send an email, this is the Gmail, and I just have to configure from which email address I have to send an email, from which email address I have to block a calendar, all of those things. That's it, right? And once I have that capability, I will be able to send email right away using my voice assistant and all that. Okay. This is the whole idea of MCP server, automating all the tools into one place so that you don't have to do anything by your own in terms of creating an API. Okay, so this is what the MCP server has the capability of doing. Now there are a lot of AI tools who have created this MCP servers. For example, there's a tool called N8N has developed an MCP server. You can use N8N to create your own MCP server or utilize the MCP server. There is something called Zapier. All of those things have the ability of utilizing the MCP server for you all, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you something which is uh, on Zapier. How can we create our own MCP server? And then we will use that MCP server to connect with the Pooja voice assistant that we have created yesterday so that she can send email, she can check the calendar, she can do all kinds of dynamic content things that she is supposed to be doing. Okay. All right. So let me quickly share my screen back again. And let me just pull this over here. Okay, this works well. Okay, so this is the Zapier. Let me do one thing. I'll start from scratch so that you uh, will be able to understand it well. If you have to start Zapier MCP, you just have to type Zapier MCP. Okay. Since you guys already have been taught N8N, I'm using Zapier. More tools understanding you have, better it is. It is absolutely free as well. I think N18 I got to know that someone has taught you already. So N18 I'm not touching it. I'm talking about Zapier MCP, but MCP is going to be the same. The concept of MCP is going to be the same. So don't worry about that. Okay, so I'll just click on I'll just say Zapier MCP. It will give me the link zapier.com/MCP. I'll click on that and whatever links that comes, I will send it to you on the chat. Okay, let me just send this link on the chat to everyone. Yeah. Whiteboard link, why do you need it? It's not, it's just messy stuff. I can still share whiteboard link, but I don't know how useful will this be to you. Copy link. Yeah, whiteboard is not that much required, but still someone asked me, so I'm just sharing it. Okay, I don't, it's my Microsoft credentials, so I'm not sure it will be visible for everyone. No, okay, don't worry, guys. Whiteboard is not required, but if you still want to just take a screenshot, but I don't know how helpful will this be. Uh, yeah. So that's the first screenshot, screenshot number 1. You can take a screenshot. Okay. And then, I mean, this is just a messy diagram. I don't know if you need it. Okay. All right. So we'll go to the MCP one. So this is the link that will open up if you go to zapier.com/MCP. Okay. And now all you have to do is click on start building or click on login, whatever. I'll click on start building. If you have not logged in ever, it will ask you to log in. If you have logged in once, it will not ask you to log in. Okay. All right. Now the whole thing is whenever you land up on Zapier or any MCP server tool, you will have the option of creating new MCP server. Either you will have existing MCP servers showing up, whatever you have created in the past, or you will have an option to create a new MCP server. So I'll click on create new MCP server. Now it will ask you which client you are creating the MCP server for. Who is the client here? Client basically, this MCP server is going to be used by which of the client? So VAPI is a client. Our client is VAPI, but you can use MCP server for different number of clients as well. So I'll just click on drop down. So look at that. There are a lot of already AI assistants, cloud already kept and mentioned over here. Let's check VAPI is there or not. Okay, VAPI is there, right? So either I can directly select VAPI that I want to use it for VAPI, and or if the VAPI or any platform, if you are not using, right? If it is not listed over here, you can just select others. So right now, what we're trying to create is we are trying to create a MCP server. So folks who are finding it difficult to understand, I hope you have watched the previous recording, because this is the part 2 of the previous session, right? If you are not able to understand, just mention what exactly the question you are facing problem in, because there are few students who mentioned that they are facing difficulty. I'll just take a pause here for 5 minutes and I'll answer questions. Okay. One question is explain MCP. I'll do it. I'll re-explain MCP. What else you're getting stuck at? How do we choose a client? Through the drop down. This is the drop down. You have to choose the client. Okay. N8N uses API to connect the individual tools like Gmail, Sheets, etc. Yes. Any MCP tool uses that. Okay. If you were not a part of previous session, this session will be extremely difficult for you. So if you were not a part of previous session, you should watch the recording of the previous session first. Okay. I'll re-explain the MCP server. Okay. And then I'll explain, just hold on to the questions. Let me explain the MCP server. I'll go very slow. I'll go in a high level. And then I don't want everybody to be left behind. Anyone who has attended the previous session should be able to understand everything in this session. If you're not able to, I will explain it in a proper way. Okay. MCP server, what we discussed was, before talking about MCP server, we discussed about the API approach. API approach was a traditional approach, which is no longer existing today. Even if you did not understand anything on the API approach, it's still fine. But the reason I explained the API approach, because I want you all to understand how the traditional way used to happen and how MCP server is creating a difference, so that you exactly understand the underlying principle of MCP. One way is to just use the tool and get happy with it, but other way is to understand what is happening in the background. So for that, you need to know the functionality of API. API is nothing but like a postman who can either post something or who can get something from you. Postman do the same job between houses. API does the same job between softwares, systems, servers, whatever you call it as. Okay. Over here, we took an example of 3 queries. Sending email. Are you open on 1st January? Tell me the available slots for coming Wednesday. These are the queries. If someone on the phone asks Pooja, Pooja is the AI assistant we created yesterday. Now, to these queries, according to what we created yesterday, Pooja will not be able to do any of these 3 things, because these 3 things are dynamic. To achieve the dynamic things, before MCP server, we had to use an API approach. What is an API approach? You have to use something like Postman to create a script, a coded script properly as a software developer, software engineer, where it says whenever someone says sending an email, trigger this API call and send email according to whatever subject body things have come. Okay. Similarly, if someone asks, are you open on 1st of January? An API call has to be triggered to get the calendar slots. These were the API integrations required. API is nothing but a connection between front end and back end. For example, everybody uses Instagram, right? Yesterday, I got a lot of follow requests apparently. So everybody uses Instagram. So whenever you post a picture, how is it visible to someone who is following? How is that happening? It's happening because the front end is connected to the database, and whatever you're posting on your system, on your phone, an API call is taking that picture and taking it back to the backend and the database. And someone who is following you, when they are opening up the phone, your picture is showing up over there because the backend is sending that photo via an API call. API call is a postman to your system or the phone. So you are able to see it. That is the layman term of API call. Same thing was the previous approach. Everything was driven via APIs. And the API is something we discussed yesterday as well, because I thought people will have difficulty in understanding this. But now we have something called MCP server. MCP server does not require you to write a single line of code at all. All it needs for you to do is select what you want to do, select your client, select a link of your MCP server. That's it. So anybody who has never even seen a code will still be able to use an MCP server. That's the whole point of MCP server. How exactly it looks like, how exactly it functions, I was going to show the same thing by using the tool called Zapier. N8N and Zapier are two different AI tools. Two different companies altogether are delivering the same product. It's up to us to select which one we want to do. N8N is something you have studied in the past. Zapier you have not studied. Hence, Zapier is the part of today's session is what I have picked. Okay. Now we'll see how MCP is solving that problem. I hope it is clear for everyone what I discussed. I'll still go ahead to check the questions. API approach and N88 workflow, both same thing. Yes, but N8N is solving your problem to get rid of the API approach. So even if you don't know what API is, today, even if I don't know what API is, I can still build a system. When AI agent works on our behalf, how we come to know about his activities, what is he communicating? Absolutely, good question. There is always a history tab in the AI tool that we build. So you'll see what exactly it is doing. Okay, your approach is crystal clear. Thank you so much. Can we circumvent the API requirements in such cases like in X by using MCP? Can you explain this example? Absolutely, we'll do that, Srinivas. The same thing I was gonna do. Okay, can we install MCP server on our local LM server? Absolutely, but that will require your some technical capabilities. Great. So I think I answered most of the question. N8N uses API to connect to individual tools like Gmail Sheets, but you said MCP servers, we don't need to trigger API calls, so a bit confused. All right. Now, I don't need to use an API. N8N internally uses API. As an end user, I don't even have to care about API. I just have to use the tool, N8N or Zapier. I have to drag and drop, select things and all that. As I do things over here, internally it is changing things, which I don't have to make. So for example, when you post a picture on Instagram, do you make any sort of API call that you make sure that everybody else who is following you should be able to see it? No, right? I don't care about what's happening in the background. I am just posting a picture on my Instagram. That's it. And automatically Instagram will take care of showing it to people who are following me. Same way in MCP server, I don't need to care about API calls and all that stuff. I will just select that I want a Gmail email to get triggered whenever this call comes. Whenever my user says that send an email. That's it. Internally, things will be handled. Okay. All right. Perfect. So I think I answered most of the questions. Great. So I answered all the questions. Now, if you have more questions, just let me know about MCP server only. Demo, I'll show you. But API versus MCP is something, make sure you have understanding a lot. Now we'll come back to MCP. Now, as I mentioned, Zapier and N8N are two different companies altogether sending the same product. I am using Zapier. Now over here, let me cross it again. These are my previous servers that I had created, right? I'll be creating a new MCP server. MCP server is also a kind of an AI agent only, which is taking into account of your considerations. Now I'll select the client, which is the client I'm going to use. So Vappy is the client I'm going to use. And I'll say name would be Vappy, or let's suppose Pooja voice assistant. Or let's suppose dynamic data for Pooja. Okay, our voice assistant. Okay, and I'll just say create MCP server. When I create MCP server, it will create a empty window. Okay. Now look at this. There is something called tool section. What MCP server can do across 8,000 apps. Now imagine a human who had to write an API call for 8,000 apps. It's not practically possible, but now MCP server, you just click on the tool and you just tell me which is something you want to integrate. Do I want to integrate calendar? Do I want to integrate a Google Drive? Or do I want to integrate Zoom meeting, ClickUp, anything? I can do that, right? One question is from Raksha, sir, what about network issue? What if it got stuck? All of those things are being taken care internally by this tool. First thing is there won't be any network issue. Network issue will not happen because it will be running on the server. So there won't be any possibility of internet not being available or things like that. Even if it is there, it's responsibility of Zapier to have an alternative so that if something goes off, it will have the alternative, right? Till the time your integration and stuff are correct, it will not get stuck. But if it gets stuck, you will get an error message. So let's suppose we are trying to send an email. Okay, let's suppose I'm giving Pooja an option to send an email whenever user asks her to send email about anything. So I'll say Gmail is my account. I would want to use Gmail to send email. So I'll just click on Gmail. Now look at this. Even inside Gmail, I will have so much options, right? For example, get attachment by file name, find an email. For example, someone comes that and says that I have sent you an email or your email address and you did not respond on that. Pooja will be able to find that email and tell that why was not responding and things like that, right? Deleting an email, creating a draft, archiving an email, everything will be the capability of the AI agent. Replying to an email, everything. Right now, for showcasing purpose, we'll just say sending an email. Pooja should be able to understand the requirement and send the email. Okay, so I will just click on check over here and I'll connect. As soon as I connect, that's it. The capability is there now in the MCP server for sending an email. Okay, so our MCP server is now able to send the email, but if you click on configure, you'll be able to see which Gmail account it will use to send an email. So right now I logged in with my Gmail account. So it will use my Gmail account to send an email. So if someone asks the AI assistant, Pooja, that send me an email about dental clinic, it will send the email. The sender will be me. It will be my email address, which will be in the sender. And whatever email address the customer has told, it will send email to that customer. Okay. Now I can either configure that, something specific I have to mention in the 2 part or half part, CC part and all that. Or I can let the AI agent decide that whatever you feel, you have to add subject, signature, attachment, decide by the AI. So this is something I can configure and I can click on save. Till this point, I hope there are no confusion. I'll again I'll take up the questions. Can I integrate Twitter or X? Yes. I have never checked it, but I'm pretty sure Twitter will be there. Twitter has been renamed, right? It's X now. What is the name of the Twitter? I forgot. I mean, I don't know. Twitter or is it X? It's X, right? How can I search? You will find it for sure. Unless Elon Musk is not happy with Zapier, he must have blocked it, but I don't know. You should be able to find it. But a lot of aspects are there. You can find things like that. Okay, you can integrate multiple tools as well, not just one tool. For example, I just added here a capability of sending email. I can also add a capability of, let's suppose, from 8,000 apps, I can go ahead and search for any of the app. For example, uh, YouTube, right? Suppose you have a video link and you want to share that video link on your to the email to the customer. All those integration. I mean, sky is the limit over here. It's all your imagination, what you want to do. And there is a capability out there. So you have to be a best innovator because implementer is going to be the AI. You just have to innovate. Implementation, all the heavy lifting of technical aspects is going to be done with the help of an AI, right? So that's the difference the world is seeing right now. Previously, humans were the implementers. We were the one who has to create all these things, and hence in resumes we used to showcase what projects we have done. But now things have changed. You have to be an innovator. You have to innovate and let AI implement that. And in the resume, instead of projects, you have to mention products. What products you have created, what things you have automated, things like that. Okay, all right. Again, I'll just take a pause to check questions because this session is slightly technically heavy, so I'll keep taking questions. Is it possible to enable all options? Jakumar, it is possible, but it will just mess up your complete system because AI will not able to understand out of 8,000 what to use. So it's not advisable. It's possible, but not advisable. Uh, Sir, can we select multiple tasks from here? Absolutely. And how is Zapier going to connect with Vappy? I'm going to showcase that. Can you run it a slow? I'm already very slow. Okay, more slow you want? We'll lose time. Okay. Can you explain once again on Gmail has been configured? Sure, I'll explain that part again. What about WhatsApp? Guys, there will not be a tool. Yes, Teams is an option. Outlook is an option. I can show you that as well. Outlook is an option. You can connect it now as an Outlook. Teams is an option. You will have Teams configuration as well. Zoom is an option. All of these are the options. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, there are 49 messages, questions. I cannot take all. But okay, I'll just proceed, guys. If something is very important, just mention that. I don't need to create MCP server. Can you please show it once again? All right, guys, I'll just again do a quick recap. What I did only was creating an MCP server, right? And this is where I landed upon by selecting a client as WAPI. While adding a tool, I just clicked on add tool and added Gmail as an option because right now I want to give an option to send an email to Pooja, nothing else. So I added Gmail as an option. As soon as I added, it automatically configured it according to this. It might ask you to log in again, but for me, I was already logged in. So it automatically configured Gmail account and it has all the fields present over here. I can add more tools over here. Shouldn't be the problem. Someone is spamming my chat saying, how can I use this app to earn money? If I knew that, I wouldn't have been taking session. Just kidding. You can use your own innovations, figure out the way, figure out the business problem you're trying to solve and all that stuff, right? So figure it out. I mean, the sky is the limit, as I said. There are a lot of automations happening. You have to figure out what's the loophole you're trying to solve. That's your innovation. They have to come in. You cannot learn how to earn money from a session or a YouTube videos, right? So all the people who are creating those YouTube videos, how to earn money, probably they have not done it. That's why they're creating the videos, and you are their source of income. So don't worry about that. You have to find your own ways and methods. Okay, so that's it. Now I have created the tool. All I have to do is connect this with my assistant who I already have. So I'll click on the connect option. Now, as soon as I click on the connect option, I get this particular window, right? Now it gives me a setup instruction. What is the instruction I have to do? It's a setup instruction. So it's asking me that first go to your WAPI dashboard and the tools page and create a new tool. Right? Same thing I'll exactly follow. So what I'll do is I'll go to my WAPI dashboard. Okay, WAPI dashboard. I'll refresh. So let it refresh. It's the same one what we created yesterday. Okay. If you remember, Pooja was our assistant, which we had created yesterday. And this is all we have done yesterday. Okay. All it's the same thing. I did not close the tab. Okay. So now what is it asking for us to do it? It is asking us to go to the tool section. We have to go to the tool section. And then let me just delete this tool first. I'll show you from scratch. Okay. So there is no tool for now. Let me just remove this. Do I delete it? There is no tools for now. First thing, what I'll do is I have to create a tool. Now in the tool, you see there is an integration option. In the integration option, there is an option for MCP, right? In the option, I have an MCP. If I click on that, there is an MCP tool option. Now in this tool, I have to just configure my stuffs over here so that whatever MCP server I have created, it's able to integrate along with the assistant what I have created, right? So in the Zapier, I'll go back to the Zapier workflow what I have created. It is asking me to create a tool, which I have done. Point 2 is done. Point 3, it is asking me to select MCP from the available options, which is done. And fourth point, it is saying provide a name and description explaining when tool should be invoked, right? So tool name, I'll say MCP tool send email. Okay. You can name your tool anything. Okay, that's fine. Description should be this tool should be used to trigger email. Trigger or send an email. Send an email to the caller. Caller is the one who is calling you. Correct? So we are done with this part as well. And then configure the tool with Zapier server URL provided below. Right? So basically, Zapier server URL, I have to copy this URL. I have to go back and there is something called server URL. I have to paste this server URL over here. That is it. And then let's see if it is asking for us to do anything else. We'll go back. It gave us the server URL, and then that's it. It is going to add tool to the assistant and all that. So on the setup, this is the only setup I have to do. So once I have done all that, I can just click on save. Okay, I'll go over the questions again. It appears that out of late 2023, Napier's direct integration was removed. Okay, I'll come back to that later. Okay, can you please tell again, unable to find the URL? Which URL you are not able to find? Tell me that. Can you show me one more time for Zapier setup? Repeat, please. Can you integrate a private database? Okay, guys, I'll repeat again. In Zapier, we had configured this tool where sending email is something we configured. Okay, now we have to go to the connect tab. Connect tab will basically help me to connect the whatever MCP server I have created with my AI tool is what my connect tab is going to do. We just followed the 5 steps. Vapi dashboard, we went to tools page. In the tools page, we added name of the tool. We added description. Description is very important because the AI assistant, Pooja, will rely on the description to understand when she has to invoke this tool. I don't want this tool to get invoked if someone is asking for timings of the booking, right? She should only invoke this tool when someone is asking to send an email, right? So that is what is required to be put up in the description. Right, so that is the creating tool, selecting MCP, providing name and description, and Zapier server URL I have to provide. So the Zapier server URL is present over here. I copied this URL and I pasted in the server settings which was there in the Zapier. That is it, and I got my tool ready. Right? Great. Now tool is there, but assistant has no idea about my tool. So I have to ask the assistant to use this tool. Hence, I'll go back to the assistant, which is present in this segment. Assistant, which is present. Pooja is the assistant we created yesterday. I'll go to the tool section. And then I will select a tool over here. You have an option to select the tool. I'll click on this and look at this. MCP tool send email is showing up over here. Right? So I'll just select this one. Correct? So now I have my AI assistant should be able to talk to MCP tool for sending emails. I'll just click on publish. And I'll just publish this. Okay, so question is, are these safe to give access to our data? Now, you are anyway giving data to a lot of apps, Sachin. Meta has the access to the WhatsApp, has access to your Facebook and all that stuff, right? So it's all depends upon who are the reputed companies you can trust on, right? When you're using Windows, Microsoft has all your data. Not exactly, we don't collect data, but just telling that whenever you use the system, you have the access to the data. So it's all comes down to the trust that you are having on that system. Definitely, they will have the access to your Gmail, email, and all that stuff. But if you go to their privacy policy, you will see that they do not access it, or they have the legal foundations to not access your data, and it is encrypted. So all that stuff. Okay, don't you need any input, any API key to VAPI to talk to MCP server? No, Sriram. We don't need that because this link which we got from Zapier is enough for the connection. It's taking care of all the server side authentication and everything. That's what I said. You don't need to be a developer. You don't need to be a software engineer to create all these systems by yourself. It is a piece of cake for anyone who is not even a developer, who has never even saw development. Okay. What is the scorecard? What do you mean scorecard? What is your scorecard? What was that? What does that mean? What is your scorecard? Okay, I didn't get the question. Can you do practical projects together? So okay. Same thing. We are doing the practical implementation itself. Anybody who's trying to follow it, you can follow in the same manner as well. What if someone gets hold of the Zapier URL? Yes, this is the confidential one. So that's why you see, even if I'm sharing my screen, you guys are not able to see the complete URL because there is dot, 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 dot. So this is just like a password. You see over here, treat your MCP server URL like a password. It can be used by anyone to run the tools attached to your server and access your data, right? So if I pass this URL on the chat, you can send emails to anyone using my email address. So there's that is the security you have to make sure. Okay, all right. So we'll go to the WAPI. Now we are ready to send an email because now we have the tool integration. We have all the integration in place and we should be able to send someone an email using the assistant that we have. Okay, so we'll go back to the model and then we have one line you need to add is something I have already added. So I just want to show you that you have to add this line in the system prompt because you should also let the AI assistant know that there is a feature, that ability to send email to the caller using the tool. Now it may or may not be required. Okay, I mean it might not be required as well. I just added this line just to be extra sure that it is not missing out on something. I'll share the prompt, guys, don't worry. You have the ability to send email to the caller using the tool MCP tool send email. I'll send the whole prompt. I'm not sure if whole prompt I'll be able to. Okay, I'm not able to paste. Okay, I'll send in the two parts. All right, I'll send in two parts. I'll send, this is the first part.